And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today, taking a look at the news, and having some dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And of course, if you wanted to join the live portion, you can find it Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. That's at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. Being joined today by two felines. I've got Dusty and Daniel in the room here, keeping me company. Not anywhere that you can see them. There's Daniel on the floor, knocked out. And there's Dusty on the table, knocked out. Good for him. Sleep. As we get ready to jump off into this Friday the 13th. That is right, it is Friday the 13th. That's when the French king and the Pope conspired against the Templar Knights. So, as always, I do read through as many of the comments as is plausible for the benefit of those of you who are listening and not able to see. And I'll go ahead and say hello to some of the people that have joined us thus far. I see Helter is here today, as well as Dragon. Jane is here. Brian. Country Living is here from central Minnesota. Thus far today, have chosen to chime in and say hello as we get ready to jump off and see what's going on in the world today. Too much of one thing and not enough of the other. As it is, it's always bad news. It's always bad news. But then again, if it was all good news, nobody would pay any attention. And that's been proven. There was a radio show called The Good News that was experimented with way back, almost a century ago. Nobody listened to it. As we get ready to jump off here. And I see Frankie has joined us as well. USA Today article, you've probably heard this by now. Trump says he won't debate Kamala Harris again. And why should he? We'll get into this really quick. It says former President Donald Trump said Thursday he won't debate Vice President Kamala Harris a second time, drawing criticism from Democrats after he was put on the defensive during Tuesday's showdown. Was he on the defensive? Making his announcement in the Truth Social post, Trump blamed both Harris and President Biden. Trump and Biden faced off June 27th before the incumbent dropped out of the race and Harris ascended to the top of the ticket. She was placed there. There was no voting process. Quote, Kamala should focus on what she should have done during the last almost 4-year period. There will be no third debate, according to Donald Trump. And he's got a point there. I mean, you've been in office almost 4 years. What have you done? Harris had a low-key response, telling supporters at a campaign stop in North Carolina, quote, we owe it to the voters to have another debate. Harris's campaign called for another Trump-Harris debate just minutes after the Tuesday debate ended. She wouldn't talk to the press, though, but they called for another debate. And it says other Democrats accused Trump of reeling from polls shown that Harris won Tuesday's contest handily. A CNN poll found debate watchers 63% to 37% said Harris performed better on stage in Philadelphia. And a poll is a poll is a poll. I've also seen polls that said that Trump was ahead. You can't trust polls, even if you want it to be in your favor. I would love to sit there and say, yeah, I saw polls that said Trump was ahead, and those are the ones that are accurate. None of them are accurate. And another thing that's really interesting here, and I see Flute Man has joined us as well, something that my wife brought up, and it has to do with having another debate. She was like, what's the point of doing this at all? Trump doesn't want to have another debate because he's already done two, firstly. And secondly, because he feels like he was railroaded in this last one. And we're going to get into that a little bit here because a lot has been surfacing this morning about the ABC News debate again. Her point was basically, what difference does it make if you have a debate? People have already made their mind up. What are you going to tell them? What are you going to ultimately tell them that's going to change their mind? Thinking on yesterday where I talked about how she had a conversation with a coworker that says that he hopes that Trump doesn't win again because he doesn't want Trump to be president. And when grilled on that, when my wife asked him questions about it, he openly admitted that Trump did a better job and would likely do a better job than Harris, but he doesn't like Trump because he heard he's racist. That guy's already made up his mind. No matter, I mean, he literally admitted Trump was a better candidate. He did a better job than Biden has and than the Biden-Harris administration. He would likely do better, but I don't like him because I heard he's racist. He made his mind up. Or the other coworker who said that he's going to vote for Harris because you have to support the sisters. He doesn't know anything about Harris, but he's going to vote for her because of her perceived color. He's already made his mind up. A debate means nothing to these people. Dragon says, why shouldn't he? Harris will only agree to do it on friendly media outlets. Would she do one on Fox? No. And Helter says he doesn't need to debate her again since she lost the first debate despite having the answers to all the questions given to her, and she still failed to answer any questions. Yeah, she did evade questions, and they let it slide. And I see Raccoon has joined us, as well as Cyberjack Sr. And Jane says, your wife is right. No need to debate again. Brian says he's just another moron who follows the in crowd. I guess talking about the person my wife was talking to. Fluke Man says, by the way, Will Ferrell said he wouldn't do any more dress up as a chick for comedy because it's offensive. Another one bites the dust. He won't. And Frankie says Will Ferrell wasn't funny anyways. I've talked about that before. Will Ferrell doesn't have any acting ability, just like Chris Rock, for example. They've got a dial, and basically it's how much Will Ferrell do you want? How loud do you want Will Ferrell to be? And he's okay in certain things, like Elf wasn't a bad film. But that he acts like Will Ferrell, just louder or softer. There's no acting ability there. Chris Rock is the same way, just for an example. Country Living says so many people won't look at the facts. True. And H12 has joined us as well. Glad you could make it today. But while we're on that subject, we're going to open up this because this is actually pretty important. And this has been all over the place today. And I actually have a little bit of follow-up on it. We'll see where this goes. Oh, and there is Urban Angst. Happy Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th. Hide under your bed. Can I sleep in your room, Mommy? No, the monsters might follow you in and kill me too. Daily Beast article. ABC denies Kamala Harris was given questions before the Trump debate. ABC says, no, this didn't happen. I've got a lot to say about this. ABC has denied that Vice President Kamala Harris was given any questions ahead of Tuesday's debate, shooting down one of the talking points that right-wingers, including former President Trump, tried to use to explain the former president's much criticized debate performance. Even if it was a stellar performance, he would have been criticized. He was criticized when he debated Biden, and the media made it sound like Biden won that. Absolutely not. An ABC News spokesperson told the Daily Beast Harris was not given any questions before the debate. The network's debate rules stated that no topics or questions will be shared in advance with campaigns or candidates. Just because the rules say that doesn't mean it didn't happen. But going on here, the spokesperson also said no aides were in contact with moderators David Muir or Lindsey Davis. Trump aides have attacked the moderators as agents of the Harris campaign following their efforts, which has been almost universally lauded. The questions claim first dose of oxygen was on Wednesday, when Trump told Fox and Friends he felt Harris was awfully familiar with the questions as he debated her. It was further amplified Thursday by a leading report website that has repeatedly shared misinformation on everything from politics to networks, claiming on X ABC whistleblower would allegedly release an affidavit that said that the Harris campaign was given sample questions in advance and that Harris was given assurances that only Trump would be fact-checked during Tuesday's debate, which coincidentally, that is true. He was fact-checked. She never was, even though she said things that were incorrect, and no one said a thing about it. Now, to follow this up, I have further heard now that there has been additional confirmation within the last hour. I've heard this, and we'll see where it goes over the weekend. And, maybe we can follow this up on Monday, that there is in fact a whistleblower and that person has sought an attorney and that the attorney will be coming forward, that person is trying to protect themselves as a whistleblower and they've sought legal counsel. And so we should, if that is true and it follows through or it doesn't get squashed, we should be hearing from this person's attorney within the next 48 to 72 hours. And we'll see where that goes. Fluke Man says, true, Farrell isn't funny. At least he was untainted before the Rainbow People. Urban says the election's already more interesting than most drama series on Netflix. Nothing on Netflix is interesting anymore, though, to be fair. Frankie says she wasn't incorrect. She straight lied. She did. And Jane says, what do you think? New York Police Commissioner quit. Something is going to happen in the future. Yeah, we're going to get to that today, actually. And G'day is here. G'day, are you down under, as they say? Are you putting a shrimp on the Barbie? So a lot of news agencies are talking about this and discrediting it, saying that there is no whistleblower because there are claims that, again, she was given advanced notice of questions, A, and that she was given an assurance that only Trump would be fact-checked, B. And it lends credibility to that claim that he was the only one fact-checked and she was not, even though she also misspoke, as it were, about certain topics. She was not square on certain topics. And Fluke Man says, waiting for the attorney to be bought. Yeah, so just because, there could be a credible whistleblower from ABC. There could be an ABC executive or somebody who's willing to come forward and talk. We all know how that goes. We know how things work out for whistleblowers. It works out very badly. They end up being blackballed from their profession. They're threatened. They're harassed. Hell, if it's Boeing, they disappear. 2 of them died, Boeing whistleblowers. We've read those stories in the last couple of months. Brian says the only interesting show on Netflix is Cobra Kai. Netflix went in a weird direction after they stopped showing Marvel shows. So it remains to be seen, and we'll see how that goes over the weekend. If a whistleblower comes forward officially, or if it gets squashed. Because it could be squashed. Somebody could get paid off. If there is a whistleblower and the attorney, hey, we'll throw you some money, shut up, or somebody disappears. That stuff happens to whistleblowers. It's a dangerous territory to come forward and admit anything, even though you're supposed to be protected. You're supposed to be protected as a whistleblower. You're supposed to be safe as a whistleblower. As we move around here, and yeah, there is, and this is a Reuters article, there is your police commissioner. New York City police commissioner resigns after federal investigators seize phone. They took his phone a while back, and this has been a long time coming. This is not news, really, because they've been saying that he was going to be made to resign for almost a couple of weeks now, right? all the way up into where his house and his brother's house or whatever were searched by the deputy mayor and all these other officials that are surrounding Eric Adams, had their properties searched and had electronic devices seized and all the rest of it. It came out, and we read the article the other day, that the New York City Police Department was warned not to delete any files of any kind by the FBI. They're under orders. So there you are. New York City Police Commissioner Edward Caban resigned on Thursday, a week after the FBI agent seized his phone as part of multiple federal corruption investigations that have entangled senior city administration officials. Caban, appointed in July of 2023, was the first Hispanic to hold the post in the history of the New York Police Department, the nation's largest police force. Oh, so he's a diversity hire. In a statement issues, I don't know. I'm assuming because of Mayor Eric Adams, because he loaded his panel with diversity hires. Maybe he earned the job. I don't know. In a statement issued through his lawyers, Caban said he's been informed he was not the target of any investigation being conducted by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan, and that he would continue to cooperate with his investigators. Yeah, he's not the target of an investigation, but they searched his home, they searched his brother's property, they took his phone, they took his computer. Yeah, he's not being investigated at all. Quote, "My complete focus must be on the New York Police Department," he said in his statement. "However, the noise around recent developments has made that impossible and has hindered the important work of our city requires. I have therefore decided it is in the best interest of the department that I resign as commissioner." Yeah, that they're just trying to, he was asked, I'm sure he was asked to resign to separate him from the mayor's office as all of this swirls around. And it'll be interesting to see where this ends up. It'll be interesting to see where it all ends up. Last week, federal investigators seized cell phones belonging to Caban and his twin brother James, officer who was fired in the department in 2001, and now runs a nightclub security business, according to the city, a local news outlet. The commissioner faced mounting calls to resign, and Adams has faced growing questions about his ability to run the city without distractions. Is he running the city? He's running it into the ground. Agents also seized phones and searched the homes of several high-ranking officials and advisors in the administration of Mayor Eric Adams. In November, FBI agents seized electronic devices belonging to Adams, but no one has yet been charged. They want to make sure it's ironclad and that they can pull down as many people as possible in one fell swoop. That's what they're waiting for. And Flukeman says, talking about whistleblowers, wonder if Snowden is still alive and kicking. Yeah, I doubt he'd ever come back to America. Sean said, oh, Sean's here. He says, checking in from Northern Illinois, trying to enjoy the weather. Jane says they saw on X a man took a picture of National Guard and Army at hotels in New York, Manhattan area. Something is happening there in the future, they think. And Helter said corruption starts at the top, which permeates to the rank and file. That corruption then manifests itself on the streets where citizens pay a heavy toll. Indeed. Yes, indeed. Financially, if nothing else, because your tax money pays to fix all of this and to fund it all. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. As we shift around here, let me see. Something is wrong with that link. Let me see if I can fix it. Because I was trying to pull something else up here. Because, yeah, now that Tim Waltz is on the top of the bill, if I can get this to work, there are a lot of problems with the Chinese government interfering in our government, and it's being allowed to happen. Daily Caller, China hawks slam Biden-Harris administration for ignoring the growing evidence that Beijing is running spy ops out of diplomatic posts. The Biden State Department has seemingly ignored mounting evidence of China running influence and intel operations from its diplomatic posts, and national security experts and China handlers, or hardliners, say Americans shouldn't expect the administration to take action any time soon. None of this will be addressed if Harris gets in. Linda's son, a former high-level official under Governor Kathy Hochul, was arrested on September 3rd on allegations of acting on behalf of China's government at the direction of the New York Chinese consulate, adding to growing lists of allegations of Chinese influence activities. The State Department has several tools to deter Beijing and Chinese consulates from such activities, but has not taken any visible measure to do so, experts tell the Daily Caller News Foundation. There's a range of things that the State Department could be doing. The least they could do is to reiterate the warnings of the previous Trump administration and where they see need of it. Improve upon the warnings of the previous administration. Steve Yates, a senior fellow of the American First Policy Institute and former national security official, told the DCNF, that hasn't happened, and I don't expect it to happen now. Yates points to an example where the Trump administration shut down a Chinese consulate in Texas in 2020 over concerns it was a hub for espionage and influence activities. The Biden administration has not closed any of the 4 remaining Chinese consulates located across the U.S., and they're obviously doing something. They're obviously doing something. As we continue here, and a couple more comments. Urban says money only entices, it's power that corrupts. And Tuck is here from South Florida. Glad you could make it. Jane wants to know when the VP candidate debates are. I am not sure. I'm not sure when the vice president debates are supposed to be. I'm not sure when they're supposed to be. You know what I would do as an Easter egg if I was Vance? I would wear a tie with little horses on it. See if anybody gets that. I bet that would upset and distract Waltz all night. If he saw that, he'd be upset. Make him take that damn thing off. And it goes on to talk about other people, other officials in different states that have been caught up recently in espionage charges connected with the Chinese government. The rest of this article, and that does include Waltz. Waltz technically looks like a security risk, and he is a governor, and he is set to possibly be the vice president and has very close ties with China. Been there more than 30 times. Been there more than 30 times. Raccoon says they don't get it. Waltz has been accused of drinking horse semen. There is an actual beverage made out of horse semen that foreigners, shall we say, enjoy in Minnesota, and people have said that he indulges in that. Although you can't officially prove it. You can't actually prove it. Oh my God. And Frankie says this is the Joe and Hunter deals. Yeah, because they had connections with China, the Ukraine. It looks bad. It looks really, really bad. And it looks like espionage. Waltz, I don't think Waltz can be trusted. I don't think he can. I saw another report earlier today that outrigs that have that belong to the Chinese government, outrigs that belong to the Chinese government, you know, like oil rigs and other research equipment that are in international waters close to the United States, have long-range listening devices. And that there's complaints about that now. So spying on us in every possible way. But more to the point here, Daily Caller again, Tim Waltz, appointed member of political parties that is loyal to the Chinese communists, to the state board. So what's being implied here is that he has given legal positions or given lawmaking positions in Minnesota to people that are connected to the Chinese Communist Party, is what's being suggested. Minnesota Governor, the Democratic vice presidential nominee, appointed a member of a political faction that has pledged loyalty to the Chinese Communist Party to the state board that advises the government on Asian American affairs. Waltz first appointed Chang, a Minnesota-based attorney, to the Council on Asian Pacific Minnesotans in May of 2020. Wang now serves as the interim chair of the Council on Asian Pacific Minnesotans, which advises the governor, legislator, and other state agencies by promoting the economic, social, legal, and political equality of the Asian Pacific Minnesotans. According to its website, Wang's term is up January 2025. The council spent more than $500,000 in taxpayer funds in 2023. But for over a decade, Wang has also been affiliated with the China Association for Promoting Democracy, the DCNF, found through a review of Chinese government announcements, archived University of Minnesota records, and Chinese language publications that have been written by Wang himself. So he is a lawmaker in Minnesota appointed by Waltz, who is a self-professed Communist Chinese Party member whose affiliation and loyalty is to China. And Country says we need to get Waltz out of politics. We need to get Waltz out of politics. Urban says in Canada we have a large Chinese grocery chain called T&T, and you should see the stuff they sell for food and other uses. Disgusting is not the word. Disgusting is not the word. Oh, God. And Urban says in China it's all about men's virility, like powdered antlers of endangered species and stuff. Yeah, and like panda paws and all kinds of crazy things that they eat. Dragon says no matter how many times this stuff keeps happening, people are not going to wake up and realize Democrats are owned by the CCP. And the thing is also, you can report on this and report on this and report on this. And what's going to be done about it? What's going to be done about it? Who's going to do anything? What's going to change? Who's going to be held accountable? And that's the problem. You know, I read these stories every day, and I have to ask myself, what the hell difference is it going to make? If everybody knows this, if everybody's aware of it, if it's called out and brought forward, what's going to be done about it? What's going to change? How's it going to help? Because people know this. The stories are here. You can find the information. And you know that there's a lot going on that's really, really questionable. Okay? You know there's a lot going on that's really questionable. What's going to happen? Who's going to help? What's going to change? Nature Nerd says Boeing union strikes 96% to strike in 94 reject contract. This is going to be a longer strike than normal. Nice. And Jane says they heard Waltz does not have PhD as he stated. It might be honorary. Like that one, who was it? There was one person in Congress when they were having that cat fight a few months ago. And she was like, I have an honorary PhD from such and such university. It's like, bitch, that's that piece of paper they give you when you show up and you speak. It's an honorary degree. Doesn't mean anything. Fluke Man says disgusting is not the word. Do you mean something like bee nests? They do eat a lot of weird stuff. Nature Nerd says the CCP should not be allowed to own land in America if China doesn't allow us to own land in their country. I agree. I've talked about that before. They own a lot of farmland in the United States. And it should not have happened. It should never have come to that. It should never have come to that. There's too much farmland owned in the United States by the Chinese Communist Party. Way too much. And I think I have a map here. It says that they own, it's almost 350,000 acres in the United States. And let me see if I can pull the map up. If I can pull this map up really quickly, because I'm all over the place here trying to share things so that I can back up some of what I'm saying here, because I don't want to just be running my mouth. I do like to demonstrate it. Here's the map. I found the map. The red spots on that map are farmland owned by Iran. Purple is Venezuela. Green is Russia, which is almost nothing. There's like 3 spots, 3 or 4. And then China is the yellow, and China is the largest. And interestingly enough, the majority of these yellow spots are near military bases. Coincidence? I mean, look at that. That should not be allowed to happen. Especially Iran, Cuba. Cuba owns farmland. It looks like all the farmland that Cuba owns is in, what is that? Oklahoma? Yeah, is in Oklahoma. But these are 5 countries that should not own farmland in the United States, period. Iran, Cuba, China, Russia, and Venezuela. And it would be really easy to do a buyback for the value of the land and kick those countries out. Any other country would do it. Any other country would do it. Jericho says they usually eat live sea animals as a delectable. It's wild, yes. And Jane says the Stonecrest Mall in Georgia is owned by Chinese. Is that mall still in one piece? Hasn't it? Is there a mall left in America that hasn't completely fallen apart yet? And Nature Nerd says, why does Venezuela own huge chunks of states? They own farm. Yeah, that's open farm country. That's open farm country. Is what that is. As I catch up a couple here and move on. Urban says, have we talked about Taylor Swift yet? I guess she's getting pushback from her endorsement of Kamala Harris. Yeah, a lot of people are giving her a hard time. Swifties or no Swifties, Taylor Swift is not very well liked in the real world. Okay, and plus people are really, really sick and tired of celebrities and their political opinions. Really sick and tired of it. So she can just suck it as we move on. This is something that I brought up the other day, so I wanted to talk about it to lend credibility to what I was talking about before, because people say, oh, well, no, it's not true that these foreigners, that some of these people from these countries, they eat cats and dogs, and that they're cannibals and all this other stuff. And I had mentioned something about albinos, that albinos are like almost a protected species in Africa because they are ruthlessly hunted. And Tuck can't stand her music. I couldn't name a song by Taylor Swift, so I don't know. And Nature Nerd says she's a leftist billionaire. But this is, and that's obviously an African albino in the picture. And this is an article. This is Wikipedia, and you can't always trust Wikipedia, but you can find this easily enough, and you can find documentaries on this easily enough. Okay, persecution of people with albinism is based on the belief that certain body parts of albinistic people hold supernatural powers. Such beliefs are present in some parts of the African Great Lakes regions and have been exploited by witch doctors who use such body parts as ingredients in religious rituals. which are claimed to bring prosperity. And the phenomenon is known as muti, or medicine murder, which I've also heard it reversed as murder medicine. As a result, people with albinism have been persecuted, killed, and dismembered. At the same time, people with albinism have also been ostracized and even killed for exactly the opposite reason, because they are presumed to be cursed and bring bad luck. The persecutions of people with albinism take place mostly in sub-Saharan African communities, especially within East Africa. And basically, bottom line, there are parts of Africa where they're killed because they think they're cursed. And there are parts of Africa where they are killed because they chop them up and eat them. Primarily children. And again, I know I'm using Wikipedia here, which Wikipedia, you can take it or leave it, but you can easily find information on this subject. And I wanted to demonstrate that, because I did speak about it the other day, and I do like to, when I can, demonstrate what I'm talking about for the benefit of those who are watching or listening, so they know that I'm not just making shit up as I go. And Miss says it's their culture. Yeah, it is. It's in their culture. It's like you wouldn't eat panda paws or monkey brains or things like that, or fried rats, but they do that in a lot of places around the world. They eat that stuff. And in the United States, in the Western world, a lot of places have moved away. A lot of people have moved away from that kind of thinking. But many of these other cultures are still very primitive, including cannibalism for this person, medicine murder, or muti, as they call it. And Jericho, still on Taylor Swift, I guess. It says, our music isn't even that great. I don't know what anyone sees in that woman. Tall, blonde, skinny, and songs sound the same. Hey, that guy used to date some curvy women, and then he ended up with Taylor Swift. I don't know what happened. I don't know what the hell happened. And Jericho says, taboo to us, but another day to them. Exactly. So and that's with the whole thing from Minnesota. And they're still fact-checking that and saying that it's false and that Trump lied about cats and dogs and whatever. These are people coming from a culture where that does happen. You have people in Springfield, Ohio, saying that it's happening to them. And you've had people in other states on the border, Texas, New Mexico, whatever, Arizona, complaining about the same things. And you know they come from a culture where they do that. It's completely plausible. It's completely plausible. And I had mentioned this again in passing while we were discussing that the other day, and I wanted to show that so that I could bring it up, because I don't know. I mentioned a lot of things. I don't know who's doing what, or if anybody is gonna follow up, and because you should. If I say something that you're really curious about, you should look it up. You should look it up to verify it, because most of the time, honestly, I'm talking off the top of my head. And I might paraphrase something. I might get the date wrong. I might get a number wrong or whatever. But you should follow it up if you thought it was interesting, or you thought I was right or wrong or whatever. Always verify for yourself. Whenever not just me, but anybody who tells you anything. As we round here to Newsweek, I thought this was absolutely hilarious. And that's Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson. Ulf Kristersson, the Swedish Prime Minister. He has a solution to the migrant problem. Do you know what it is? You'll love this. One more here. Urban says many Black North Americans are returning from their travels in Africa with a renewed sense of gratitude for the United States, because the worst racism they endured was in Africa. I've worked with a lot of Africans. They do not like Black Americans at all. You want to talk about being prejudiced. They hate them. Every African I've ever worked with They can't stand them. There's a lot of animosity there. They think they're lazy and ignorant and stupid and on and on and on. Don't get me going. Anyways, he has a solution to the migrant problem. He's going to pay them to leave. Newsweek, Sweden to offer immigrants $34,000 to leave the country. Please go. Please go. We are Sweden. We are neutral. We don't want to fight. We'll pay you to go. Please. Please go away. The Swedish government has said it will start offering certain migrants up to 350,000 Swedish kroner, which is the equivalent of $34,000 US, in exchange for returning to their countries of origin starting in 2026 or from 2026. Migration Minister Johan Forssell made the announcement on Thursday, commenting, "We are in the midst of a paradigm shift in our migration policies. Immigration has become increasingly controversial in Sweden over recent years, with the right-wing populist Sweden Democrats coming second in the country's most recent general election in September of 2022. While unable to form a government itself, the Sweden Democrats have since been propping up an administration led by Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson from the center-right moderate party, which came third in the election." I don't care about all that. Forssell noted that it is already a Swedish government program offering migrants funds to return home. Wow. But the amounts paid are much lower, at a maximum of 10,000 kroner, which is $976 per adult and 5,000 kroner per child, with a cap of 40,000 kroner, that is $3,903 per family. However, he said the offer is little used and was taken up by only one migrant last year. One person took the payoff, so they're going to up the ante. They already have this on the books, and so, oh my God. So now they're going to go from $976 a person to a maximum of $34,000 a person to go home. Please leave the country. Get the hell out. That is hilarious. Oh my God. Let's see if I can, I don't even know where to catch up here now. Rodney is here. He says, solution to the flood of illegals, secure the borders and deportations. No, you pay them. Please leave the country. We'll give you a bonus. Go home. Go home. Oh my God. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Helter says they failed to understand what the refugees and exiles could do with the numbers increase. There is no cultural integration, but cultural invasion. And Chris says welfare migrants get paid to leave. Exactly. Dragon says they will simply take the money and go to England and return to Sweden if they want later on. Yeah, maybe you can get kicked out more than once and just make bank. You know, work that system. Work that system. Oh, that is perfect. That is just perfect. And Fluke says that's one. Then that one migrant went back to Sweden. Yeah, that's what he said. He admitted right here that last year, right there. However, he said the offer is little used and was taken up by only one migrant in 2023. So one person took that payoff to go home. One guy took the payoff. But this policy is already on the books. Oh, and also it says, according to the AFP news agency, a number of other European countries already have or are working on schemes that pay migrants to return to their home countries, and they'll offer around $2,000 in Germany, $2,800 in France, $1,400 in Norway, and $15,000 in Denmark to go home. Please go back. Please go back. You think they're going to take you seriously? Listen, that's giving them the fast nickel. They don't want the fast nickel. They want that slow welfare dime to come rolling down the lane. That's what they want. They want to sit there and just milk that taxpayer money. That's what they came for. That's what they came for, while they sit there and whine and cry. They come to the country. This is the part that really kills me in the Western world, okay? These people come, United States, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, uh, wherever, the United Kingdom, France, Sweden, Denmark, crawling, begging for help, and then complain about every damn thing you do for them. Contribute absolutely nothing, drain taxpayer funds at every possible avenue, working the system. You think they're going to take a payoff to leave? Oh, if you're willing to pay me to leave, I can get more. I can get, watch me sit here. Watch me sit here. That's not how you do it. You do it like how Pakistan did it last year when they got all the Afghans out of the country. Any Afghani person who's not a citizen, who has not gotten official citizenship in Pakistan, they threw them out. You got 30 days to get out of the country. If we round you up, you won't like it. Within 30 days, almost 2 million people crossed that border, leaving the country. They abandoned everything they had and left because they were scared to death. If Pakistan can do it, any of these countries can do it. Get the hell out of here. We're going to run charter flights back to your country. You better get on that plane. Don't make us come and get you. They'll leave. Jericho says, throw money at it and close your eyes, in a nutshell. Yeah, that's the Western way of thinking. Throwing money at a problem. And where are we here? Chris says taxpayers get hosed coming and going by design. Exactly. And Helter says they'll take the money but never leave. It's too late for Band-Aid solutions. Unbelievable. It can be done. That's why people are like, oh, if Trump gets elected, there's no way he can get rid. Yes, he can. You can get rid of these people. You can get rid of them. It can be done. It can be done if you're willing to take it seriously. You don't have to hurt anybody, but it can be done. And Tom E. has joined us. Urban says they come here to dominate. It's an organized army of sorts. And our leaders in Canada and the U.S. are basically traitors for facilitating the clearly planned invasion. They are traitors. They've betrayed the trust of their constituents. They are traitors. They betrayed your trust. If you are a lawmaker, and I've talked about this many times, your first loyalty should be as a good steward to the money that you're entrusted with, because it's not yours. That tax money is not yours. And you should be a good steward when spending it. And two, and not necessarily in that order, but two, you should be loyal to your constituents and loyal to your country. And I'm not seeing that from lawmakers in the Western world. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. Now, this is a very divisive article. I'm not going to read it, but I wanted to put it up to make a point. Okay. And this article is from The Guardian. Okay. Guardian magazine. Talking about Harris. And they're lending credibility to Harris in this article, which is why I don't want to read it. It says, scoffs, smiles, squints, how Kamala Harris's face spoke volumes in Trump's debate. And they have this panel here of faces of her different looks, because she made a lot of faces while he was talking. And they're alleging to in the article, and I've seen a couple of others like this, that, we have our experts and they studied the body language, and this is how you can tell that she's telling the truth, or you can tell when he's lying, and you can tell by her facial expressions. It's a very divisive article because she's been trained to do that. I don't care what body language expert watched Harris or Trump and made any decision based on what they saw. Never mind the fact that you're going to showcase the expert that leads in the direction that you want the article to go anyways. All right? It's leading anyways. because you can't trust the mainstream media, period. But this is a person, when you are talking about high profile politicians, they take acting lessons. You're going to tell me she hasn't been coached on body language and facial expressions and how to react to certain things to make things seem a certain way? You can't trust that. You can't trust that. It says, as Kamala Harris is newly installed as a presidential candidate, sought to challenge the weather of the Democrats' faltering campaign in late July, she made an appeal to Donald Trump that delighted a crowd of her supporters in Atlanta. Trump sure seems to have a lot to say about me, she told the crowd before challenging him to debate with her. As the saying goes, if you got something to say it to my face, blah, 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 blah. You know that Trump will do it. Trump has not backed down from anything. You got to give him at least that much. These people are trained in body language, in poise, in stance, volume of voice, facial expressions, eye contact. If they're big enough politically, they get coached. So this lends no credibility. I don't think she was being honest or that Trump was being dishonest because of her facial expressions. But articles like that are very divisive, and they confuse people who don't know any better. It confuses people because a lot of people, you know what, they don't even read the articles. They look at the picture and they read the title and they make a snap decision. They don't even bother to read the article. They don't, and if they do read any part of it, odds are they only read the title or the descriptor under the title, and then make a snap decision. Make a snap decision based on that. Another good example of a divisive article. This one's really bad. Okay. And this is born up out of the controversy that's going on in Springfield right now, Springfield, Ohio, because of the influx of Haitians. As you well know, there have been, it was a town of 60,000 people that has basically been invaded by 20,000 Haitians that were sent there. That's diluted the population by 25%. It's going to cause a lot of problems. It's going to cause a lot of problems. Jane says that they heard she rules with an iron fist with her staff. I've heard she's a real jerk. But you know, you hear the same thing about Ellen. You hear the same thing about Hillary Clinton. You hear that about a lot of people, that they're really nasty to deal with in person. I've heard that about Obama. This is a very divisive article about Haitians. Okay, The Nation has this article. White people have never forgiven Haitians for claiming their freedom. Okay. Behind the vicious Trump-Vance attacks on Haitian immigrants is a long history of making the people of Haiti pay for the audacity of their revolution. Without even getting into this article, I will tell you, nobody in the Western world gives a shit about Haiti's revolution from like 200 years ago, or whenever the hell. I forget when the Haitian Revolution was off the top of my head. Let me look. 1791. 1791. Yeah, so it was a long freaking time ago. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And look how it's worked out for them, because they can't govern themselves. And Tuck says, LOL, no mention of France. Exactly. Thank you, Tuck. That's right. No one cares Most people don't even know they had a revolution in 1791. And Miss says, thank you. I was going to say the same. White people don't give a rip. No, nobody cares. I don't care if they had a revolution in 1791. It's more than 200 years ago. Most people don't even know there was one. Did you learn Haitian history in your school? Probably not. Why? Because no one gives a shit about Haiti. Haitians don't care about Haiti. They treat their country like shit. And Haiti and their neighbor spend all of their time kidnapping each other and forcing them to work in cane fields as slave labor. There's a documentary about that. Look it up. And it was because, who was it? Domino Sugar was under a lot of pressure in the early 1990s because they got a lot of sugar from that part of the world, from Haiti and the Dominican Republic. There's a Dominican Republic right on their on their border, correct? Dominican Republic. The Haiti and Dominican Republic historically have spent a lot of time kidnapping people from each other and forcing them to work in each other's cane fields and other farmlands. And they were trying to force Domino Sugar to take accountability and not buy sugar from there if they knew that there was slave labor being used. They don't even like each other. And we're supposed to care about a revolution that 99% of the population doesn't even know about. And then you're going to have a divisive article like this saying white people have never forgiven Haitians for claiming their freedom. I don't care if they claimed their freedom. What are they doing with it now? Yeah, and Jane says, yeah, Haiti's on one side of the island and Dominican Republic's on the other side. And H12 says they never heard of it. And Tuck says, not my island, not my circus. And Urban wants to know, do Haitians care about the plight of anyone else in the world? Why would they? Why would we? It's a big planet. Exactly. They don't care. But you're going to get articles like this. And shame on the Guardian, or excuse me, the Nation. The Nation is the purveyor of this article written by Elsie Mistel. Elsie Mistel. That sounds like some made-up New Age name, like they sell crystals at the flea market. I'm Elsie Mistel. Can I read your palm? Piss off. Trying to make it sound like it's racism for being concerned over this influx of Haitian migrants. And Brian made a donation to the channel. Thank you, Brian. Need all the help I can get, Brian. Much appreciated. Dealing with these felines, especially right now, because I talked about it a lot yesterday. Ran into some issues with doing an adoption yesterday. Fluke Man says, in my opinion, doing your job, not a good steward. It's just you doing your job. I've had coworkers goes on and on how good they're at their job. Like, shut up, get out of here. Majority are hard workers. But yeah, I mean, that's a very divisive article. There's already enough trouble in the Western world and in the United States with the whole racism thing, and we were moving away from that. You could feel it if you've been in the U.S. long enough. If you're as old as I am, you saw it going away. You saw it moving away, going away, and from the onset of the Obama administration, it's been going backwards and getting worse and worse and worse and more divisive all the time. And here we are. And articles like that, bullshit like that, it just makes things worse. It makes things worse. People are already having a hard time getting along. And now you're going to act like these people are innocent. They're out there pouring over the borders, living off of taxpayer funds, not integrating. And like I had expressed earlier, coming here begging for help, and then you whine about every single thing that anybody does for you. Bitch and moan, bitch and moan. You don't like it? Get the hell out of here. Basically, as we get ready to wrap up, the articles like that really piss me off. And here, I'll show you Dusty real quick. She's been asleep on the desk the whole time, being a good girl, taking her nap. Daniel has been down there the whole time, her brother, also napping. As we get ready to start wrapping things up, we are at the top of the hour. Special thanks to Brian for making a donation to the channel. Always helpful, very much appreciated, of course. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Coffee Talk and Prepper University, at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. And again, thank you to everyone else who was able to join us here today. Hope you got something out of the conversation.